Hi class, I've downloaded Apache NetBeans to my computer and I'm going to try to install it. Let's get this install started. Here we go. I'm going to allow the installer to use its default selections, accept the terms, check my file locations, my paths to make sure that this is where I want things to be installed. The JDK that I'm using is maybe a release earlier than the JDK 14 that you have installed. Yours should show JDK 14. I'll allow it to check for updates and then I'm ready to launch the install. When we're using NetBeans, remember we're just using it as a development tool. It's basically a fancy editor. There are many, many tools available for us to use for developing with Java. Eclipse is very popular. IntelliJ IDEA has a very popular tool. Those tools are fine to use if that's something that you're interested in. You are welcome to experiment. When we do turn things in Canvas, if we do turn in an entire project, there are times that you may need to set the project up in NetBeans for me to turn in. And my install should be done. I'm going to go ahead and kick off NetBeans. And you can see I have a few different installations, so I'm going to make sure I get the right release. I want our new 12.0. I'm going to say no. I don't want to import anything because I want my install to look clean like yours. Now, as I open NetBeans for the first time, I'm presented with the Learn and Discover tools, which can be very, very helpful to you. You can take a tour of NetBeans, try out a sample project. These items are always available to you on this Learn and Discover tab. On the My NetBeans tab, which is what it will default to on subsequent openings of NetBeans, you'll see recent projects that you've been working on. And of course, the What's New tab will be available to you. I'd like to create a new project, so I'm going to choose File, New Project. And I'm greeted with several choices. Now, Maven, Gradle, and Ant are all different compilers that I could choose to use to create my Java application. They each have different benefits and drawbacks, strengths and weaknesses. I'm going to use Java with Ant. The main reason I'm going to use Java with Ant is that in my experimenting, I have found that it does not require a lot of downloads from the internet every time I create a new project, and I'd like to minimize that interaction. Maven is requiring a lot, so I'm just going to choose Java with Ant. And again, Java application. You can try experimenting with these different development environments, that's fine. When you choose a different environment, the Java tools or NetBeans tools will be automatically installed for that environment. So since I'm going to be using Java with Ant and creating a Java application, items necessary for NetBeans to fulfill that need will be downloaded and installed automatically for me. Now, in previous releases, I would have had to install those on my own. So if you're trying to use an earlier release or something, that would be why. Now, in order to use this functionality, it says you need to download an additional tool, the JavaFX implementation for Windows. I'm going to uncheck that for now. And just go ahead and activate. Now for Java 2, I will need those JavaFX tools, so I would need to manually install those tools later. Okay, now my install was pretty quick because I had previously installed that kind of application with an earlier release of NetBeans, so your download and install might take a little bit longer. If you notice there are some things going on in the background of NetBeans, it can take a while for all of these background tasks to be completed. Now I'm ready to create my first new Java project. It has my name and location window here for me, and I'd like to give my project a name. I'm going to call this one Hello World. It's going to be my first Java project. Now my project is going to be stored in a folder named Hello World, and my folder will be placed in this NetBeans projects folder of my documents. You could browse and change that location if you like. When my application is created, my main class, my Hello World class, is going to be created for me because I have this checkbox enabled here to create my main class. If I had chosen a Maven project or a different compiler than Ant, this option might not be available. I'm going to go ahead and finish. And now I see my project has been created and it's over here in my projects folder. Quick review of our NetBeans interface. First of all, we have our standard Windows menu bar. Under our title bar, then our toolbar that offers us many of the tools that are available within our menus. We have different sub-windows within NetBeans. This first area is right now displaying our projects. We can see all of the different projects that are open right now. And I could have multiple projects open if I liked and be testing and working on all of them simultaneously without getting confused, which is very nice. Now I could also switch to the Files or Services tabs, which we'll learn more about as we work. Down at the bottom of this left area windows, I see that I am working with a Hello World object. Again, this is showing me stuff that I'm going to be learning a lot more about. But for beginning, my class name is Hello World, and a method has been created for me in my Hello World class called main. Now this window shows me my Java code. I have some things here to look at really quickly. At the top, I have a comment block. A comment block starts with a slash asterisk or slash star and ends with a star slash. Everything in between is considered a comment block. My package statement was automatically inserted by NetBeans when my project was created. Everything in my project needs to be within the same package if it needs to communicate properly. Now I have another block comment with an author identifier. Notice that as your instructor, I would be paying attention to this. So if this author notation is coming up with another person's name because you're using a different person's PC, please revise that to show your name so that it doesn't bring questions up in my mind as I look at your code. Actually, I'll ask you to do better and make real comments. Now, underneath all of these comments in our package comes the important parts of our Java code. First is our class statement. All Java code has to be within a class. We can't have anything outside of a class. A class begins with the keyword class and then a class name. Our class here has this extra public keyword added, saying that it's usable by other classes, but that keyword is optional. Now, after my class name, I see an open curly brace, and at the end of my class, the closing curly brace. I can click on either one, and NetBeans will super nicely highlight the matching curly brace for me. Curly braces can be quite a problem when you're working with Java code, so be very careful with them. So I have my class. Within my class then, I have methods, and methods are different chunks of code that perform different functions. For a Java program to begin, it needs to have a main method. A main method is the starting point for the program. So when I compile my program, that bytecode that gets generated is going to be beginning with whatever code I put within my main method. My main method is beginning with a method header. The method header declares this chunk of code and gives it a name. In our case, it's main. We'll be looking at the main method a lot, and it's something that we just want to memorize. We'll learn more about what all these different keywords mean as we learn about Java code, but in the meantime, it's kind of like a we the people type thing. We need to remember public static void main, then open parenthesis, and some specification that we're going to use a string of arguments, and a closing parenthesis. You can copy and paste this main method header into your code, but it's something that it's very good to just memorize. Now, after the method header of my main method, again, I have an opening curly brace with a matching closing curly brace. Java loves curly braces, and they are always indicating the beginning and the ending. So any code that I'm going to type needs to go within the opening and closing curly brace of my main method. You can see there's a comment here, and a single line comment that just is 2 slashes. And I can have a 2 slash comment like that anywhere on a line of Java code, and it will be treated as a comment, everything that follows. So let's write our first line of code. I want to use the system class. So I'm going to type the word system, and I'm using an uppercase S because the system is a class, and classes are supposed to begin with uppercase letters, and Java is case sensitive. When I type the dot after the class name system, NetBeans builds this nice little list of helpful information for me. And first it has, which kind of system stream do you want to use? An error, an input, or a print? Well, I'd like to use a print stream. So I could use this nice handy NetBeans tool to pick that, or I could just type the word out. Now, after that out specification, I need another dot to say, where do I want to send this output to? Well, I would like to print something. I would like to print a little message out. So I want it to go to what is commonly considered the console. And the console is just a screen. And it used to be back in the really olden days that the main monitor of a PC was the only monitor, and so it was always called the console. And now we have many, many different windows and monitors we can use, but that concept stays with us. So we're going to use the print method, and we can print using all sorts of different things. We also have modifications of printing available, like printing functions or printing lines, and that's what I'd like to do, is print a line. So I could double click on this println code snippet here in NetBeans, or I could type the code myself, but either way, that's the code that I need. So let's take a look here. We end up with one line of code within our main method. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I know one of you is going, it's right there, it's right there. Right there, right there. But I am just having a terrible time finding it. And of course I know that I've seen it a million times. I should search or something, huh? Let's see if this makes a difference. Did it a little bit? Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm trying to make it where it's a little bit more visible to you. If you notice, I can't, oh, there we go. I can press Alt and zoom in. All that time, I will edit it out. How's that for you? All right, so we've got our program here, our small pieces of code. We have our class statement with our class name, followed by curly brace. We have our main method statement header, followed by curly brace, and then one line of code that we actually typed that says system.out.println, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, semicolon. So code when Java is used is always ending with a semicolon. Let's run this program. I've got my green run icon. When I click that green run icon, the output window will open and I'll see that my program has been built or compiled. Now our print line statement executed, but it didn't output anything because we didn't tell it to output anything. So let's put what we want to output within our parentheses. So click in between the parentheses and type hello world enclosed within double quotes. Using the double quotes indicates that we have a string. And a string is something Java's really not going to be too worried about. It's like, oh, you have a bunch of characters. I'll just do whatever you like with them. And in this case, we would like to print them. So let's run this. And there now we see our hello world message be displayed in our output window. Now, if we had an error, let's try an error. First of all, I'll get rid of one of my closing curly braces. Now I see the error displayed below because the editor can't tell there's an error until it runs into something else to tell it, right? So it doesn't know there's a closing curly brace missing until it runs into the very end of our code. And then it says, I don't have one. So what does this closing curly brace match up to? Oh, but this closing curly brace was actually the closing curly brace to end our class. But now the editor says, no, it's the one to end your main method because we're one short. And it says, I reached the end of the file. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, let's put it back in there. So you see that the editor can get really confused if our curly braces are mismatched. And it's just going to line them up with whichever one it found last. It's not going to look at the spacing or the indentation here to decide which curly brace is matched to which other. It's just going to say, oh, you must close that last one I saw. What if I do some other things like forget to have a beginning double quote? Now my whole line of code has a red squiggly line indicating there's an error. And if I mouse over this little light bulb over here, it says, hey, I was expecting something like either closing of your parentheses or something, I don't know, but not what I got? Well, it's confused, so it can't tell you exactly what's wrong. We have to look at it and say, oh, I see, I'm missing the beginning double quotes. I'll put them in, and the error will be eliminated. If I am missing one of my parentheses, whoops, now I'm just missing the closing semicolon. My line of code is marked an error, and I see a very helpful message. Your semicolon is expected. All right, I'll put that back in. If I'm missing parentheses, again, my whole line is errored, and it's able to tell me because it's the end. So notice how the messages that the editor gives you are going to kind of depend on where you are in your code and how much it can figure out. Okay, so NetBeans. We've seen that NetBeans has several different window areas. We have different tools that will be displayed in the areas. Our project window shows us the project that we're working on. Right now our project, Hello World, has some folders. It has a source folder and a library folder. Within our source folder, we have our package that we created, Hello World. Within our package, we have our Hello World.java class. Our class name needs to match our .java file name. We can't rename one without renaming the other. If I were to create another new project, it would be displayed in my project window under my Hello World project, and I could move back and forth between them. We see now a little bit more about this navigator window that our class, Hello World, contains our main method. So we can start getting an idea of how we can use our different tools. We saw that we use this green arrow to run our program, and that messages about the compilation and output from any output statements are going to be displayed in the output window. We have lots more to learn about the toolbars and the different parts of the window that are available in NetBeans. We can drag and drop areas. So if I want to take this code area, I can grab its toolbar, slide to, I could maximize it, minimize it, do the drop down, switch in different areas. I can drag and drop a tab, not the whole area. So I can kind of rearrange things randomly however I like. The start page tab is always displayed. I'll put it back. Put it back. So we can try working with all of those different abilities to rearrange things. If I minimize a window like the navigator window, it's going to be gone. I would have to use my view menu to find it again. And if I were like saying, I can't find it, well, here it is. It's got a tab now. So now I've set that to be a tabbed item, and my projects are not tabbed, they're displayed. I can make them tabbed. Now I have my navigator tab, my projects tab. Okay, so you can kind of fiddle with things. If you get it all messed up, go to your window menu and reset all of your windows so that everything comes back to the way it was before. But do experiment and see how you like to use things configured, so because that's the options that you have. Okay, enjoy working with NetBeans. It's super fun. Let me know if you have any problems installing it so I can help you. Most of your projects that we create for Ravel would be very good for you to create them in NetBeans. You might be thinking it might be good to just copy and paste them. That's up to you. Thank you.